It's been 1 year since I got off TRT fully, and I'm going to give you guys an update on where I am at now, how I feel, and what went into the process of getting myself right here where I am today after my testosterone dipped as low as 80 after coming off fully to now coming back up to 429. So let's dive in to the process, starting with what happened in the first 3 months. The first 3 months coming all the way off, I knew that I had to support myself with something. And the way that I supported myself was with HCG as well as enclomiphene. I went through a local clinic in Las Vegas who prescribed both of those at the time, and honestly, the fact that my testosterone went from 80 up to 429 in the matter of like 3 to 4 months is pretty impressive, and I'm really happy about that. Can I say that that was purely the supplementation? I don't know if I can say that, because I knew immediately the first thing that I had to do coming off was to support my body holistically as much as I possibly could. And immediately that meant really paying attention to the quality of my diet. Usually and typically, I've ran diets that have been much lower fat, much higher carb, always high protein. Coming off of TRT, I decided that I actually wanted to run a much higher fat diet and increase the dietary fat intake of specifically healthy fats and monounsaturated fats like nuts and olive oil and avocado. And I ended up having much less dense meals, but the goal wasn't for me to eat in a calorie surplus. It wasn't for me to eat in a calorie deficit. My goal was to simply maintain at maintenance calories and ensure that I was eating enough every single day to not only recover from training, but to have enough energy to go through life. And I think that while testosterone is low, you hear a lot of people say, oh, like brain fog and fatigue, it feels terrible. Like, I cannot tell you that I really had anything that was pressing. I can't sit here and be honest with you and say I felt like dog shit because I was so focused on eating a diet that made me feel my best that experience really never came. I knew for certain that a diet high in dietary fat was going to support me hormonally more than anything. So I really stuck to that. I had a fat goal of about 100 to 120 grams a day. I had a protein goal of about 190 to 220 grams a day, and I filled out the rest of my calories and carbohydrate. And mind you, I was about 205 pounds, 207 pounds when I came off of TRT. I was eating right around 3,000 calories, and I ate 3,000 calories for up to 6 to 8 months straight. Not only was it important to control my diet quality, but it was very important for me to regulate my lifestyle and be mindful of stress management. So I was not a dick about sleep. I wasn't trying to get to bed at like 1, 2 a.m. and get like 3 to 4 hours of sleep and just run off that. Like I own a business. That keeps me up. I mean, that keeps me working most of the day. And so it was incredibly important for me to really be effective with my time and manage my time very, very well throughout the day so I could get on a consistent sleep and wake schedule. More than anything else, I knew that 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep a night was going to help my testosterone recover more than anything. Recovery happens when you sleep. So I absolutely prioritize that. And sometimes I don't have an hour or two to turn off all of my screens and open up a book and read. Sometimes I'm working all the way through the night. Sometimes I'm doing most of my creative work and some of my copywriting late into the night. And so I would actually pick up these amber blockers that you could pick up on Amazon, and immediately I saw stress scores on my Oura Ring start to drop in the evening from where they typically are, especially when I am working through the night. And so I'd put those on for the last 3 hours, and I'd find, because I wear contacts as well, that my eyes would start getting pretty heavy and my contacts would start feeling pretty dry. And I'm like, that's how I know I'm tired. And so those amber blockers helped me get into deep sleep pretty quickly. And my sleep scores were really, really good through Oura Ring. I just kept that consistent. I kept that a consistent routine. It was nothing crazy. I didn't try to push meals super close to bed. 3,000 calories for a lot of people is kind of a lot of food. And so pushing meals late into the evening or having high fiber, high protein meals late in the night, I know for me personally, that impacts my ability to fall asleep well. Because if I have really heavy meals late at night, I'm going to be spending a lot of energy trying to digest, and that keeps me up. So I'm not perfect with that, but I know myself well enough to know that that's not going to help me get good sleep. So that was something I managed very, very diligently. From a stress standpoint, again, owning a business, stress is part of my lifestyle. I think that my perception of stress matters a whole lot. I don't inherently look at stress as a bad thing. I just simply look at it as an opportunity. Whatever's stressing me out the most, I want to focus on right now, and I want to get out of the way right now. And just that daily practice in its own helps me A, manage time, helps me B, not procrastinate, which actually leads to stress down the line for me, and C, it keeps me very, very headstrong and solution focused, which for me is, sure, you can say I'm stressed, but like I can't sit here and be like, oh, this shit is so stressful, it's so taxing, like no. But a lot of that's also how I'm treating my body. So with caffeine intake, I pretty much cold turkeyed caffeine for like 4 to 5, almost 6 straight months. I just stopped needing it. It got to the point where I would have decaf coffee in the morning, and just the tiny bit of caffeine in that decaf would be just enough to get me going. Just enough to get me going. So obviously caffeine helps increase alertness, increase adrenaline, it increases your heart rate. And as a byproduct, typically that has a direct correlation to increasing cortisol. I mean, that's something that we don't typically think about. But if I'm always in this high adrenaline state, in this highly caffeinated state, I'm going to find myself just more stressed and anxious just by nature, less calm, higher resting heart rate even as well. And sometimes that can even negatively impact digestion. It can sometimes negatively impact appetite. And I know that like, hey, I can't have a negatively impacted appetite because I had to put down 3,000 calories a day on a consistent basis. You know, I can't put myself in such a high stress, jittery state all the time if I know that I want to be digesting my food well, if I know that I want to pretty much keep myself calm throughout most of the day. And so bringing caffeine intake down was another tool that I used to manage stress effectively. The last but not least is training. Training is a direct stressor in our lives. And yes, there are correlations to hard training and an increase in testosterone. But for me personally, I knew that coming off TRT, I wasn't going to be doing much pushing for muscle gain or muscle growth. I knew that I wasn't going to go into a dieting phase and take calories away from myself and restrict myself, because I know that would downregulate my metabolism, that would downregulate hormones, that wouldn't help me increase testosterone whatsoever. So I knew I had to chill out. And with training, this is the first time I really forced myself to chill out. For 5 straight years, it was growth, prep, pushing bodybuilding hard, both naturally and unnaturally for a period of time. But I put myself in a maintenance period of training. Usually my maintenance periods of training are only about 4 to 8 weeks long to help me prepare for my next push of growth. And instead, I was like, I'm committing to this maintenance phase for however long that I need to commit to this maintenance phase. And maintenance in context of training volume is around like no more than really like 8 to 12 work sets per target muscle in a single week. And that's not a lot. Like if I do 2 quad exercises and 1 workout and 4 sets of each, that's 8 sets right there, right? So it's not a lot of training volume, but it's just enough training volume to help me maintain muscle mass. And I'm going to get into how well and how effectively I was able to maintain muscle mass. But this kept me recovering from training well, and it actually helped me keep my strength up. You'd think coming off testosterone replacement therapy that strength would actually go down. That actually wasn't the case for me. Because I was able to train at maintenance volume, I was able to do exercises that were pretty challenging, like the barbell bench, like the squat, like the conventional deadlift. And typically when I am pushing for a lot of muscle growth and training in higher volumes, I don't do a whole ton of volume with those big, heavy compound exercises because they are so fatiguing. But reducing my training frequency from 5 days down to 4 days and my training volume down to maintenance allowed me to live in lower rep ranges of like 6 to 12 and really keep weight on the bar and keep pushing myself. And I was recovering very well because I wasn't doing all too much training volume. So I think that being able to maintain strength and still have really good training sessions without feeling overly fatigued. If I continued to train like I did when I was in a calorie surplus on 300 milligrams of testosterone and 300 milligrams of Primo, like there's no way I would have been able to keep up. I probably would have ended up burning through tissue and making myself feel a lot more stressed. I would have negatively impacted my sleep. And I for sure would not have put myself in a good position to recover hormonally. So I needed to be intelligent about that. Another thing that I did to manage stress is I got into cardio. Like for the first time in my life, I've grown up skinny my entire life, and I always thought that more cardio was going to keep me smaller. When I first got into bodybuilding, I always thought, hey, if I do cardio, I'm going to get small. Well, I took it upon myself to improve every aspect of my blood work, not just testosterone. And I noticed that my cholesterol wasn't in the best place. My lipid panel was not in the best place. And so, yeah, an increase in dietary fats and healthy fats was able to help me with that. I also, along with that, took a cholesterol supportive stack that you can just get Amazon over the counter. Not inherently necessary, but I was willing to do anything I could to put myself back in a good state. But more importantly than all that, started doing cardio. I started taking care of my heart health. I started making it a challenge for me to get in better shape and get into better conditioning as an athlete. And I picked up running. Mind you, I'm not good at it. I'm still not good at it. And I've made videos about how I'm not good at it. But even though I didn't get to these crazy paces of and crazy times with a 5K and a 10K and a half marathon, I never took it that far, which for me and my personality type, I'm always like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to take it far. It showed me I can do this and not inherently have it negatively affect my training. I can have it positively affect my training. I can have it positively affect how I feel throughout the day. And I can create a better environment for my body to handle stress and recover more efficiently. And that was huge because, I mean, I saw my resting heart rate dip from, close to 60 beats per minute to around 42, 45. And when I tell you that it made me feel stronger in my training, like on leg days specifically, I wasn't huffing and puffing and breathing hard between sets. That helped. When I tell you that even in the times that I got like a little bit sick and caught a little bit of a cold, my recovery from that sickness was much, much higher. And it gave me a whole different outlook on being in better cardiovascular shape. I'm like, if I'm a better athlete and if I'm in better shape, I can recover from things much more efficiently, and I can handle stress much more efficiently. So my approach to training became just enough training volume to maintain muscle mass and maintain strength, as well as keep myself in really good cardiovascular shape. And I'm really grateful for this past year of my life because it's allowed me to take a step back. And I think that my body, like your body's smart. It knows what it's doing at the end of the day. And the way I see it is my body auto-regulated and said, hey dude, like it's time to back off. You've been pushing so hard for so long without break, literally without break. It's time to take a year to just chill. And given that I've done this, amongst this process, there's definitely been times where I've gotten in my head. When I look at how my physique has changed, this is me at peak dosages of gear in my massing phase, looking full, hard. Honestly, not far from my goal of, getting an IFBB Pro card at that time. In my opinion, I think I just had like a couple more years of really solid growth to do, right around the time where I got off. I still looked pretty good on TRT to about 3 months after the time that I got off, 4 months the time I got off. You can tell I definitely decreased in muscle fullness. I definitely got a little bit softer. I started holding body fat. What I noticed is I started holding more body fat around my hips and my lower back. I do typically hold body fat there, but it was interesting to hold more body fat there as my body weight crept down a little bit more. And I think what I was started to struggle with and be challenged with was a little bit of body dysmorphia. Again, like I feel like I've worked my can off to build my physique from a place to where I used to be 159 pounds, 6 foot, soaking wet. But seeing myself kind of move backwards was difficult to navigate. But I had to keep telling myself in my head, hey, you're getting healthier. You're making strides. You're becoming a better athlete. You're developing a better mindset, a stronger mindset during this time. And that's huge. And I definitely did. I definitely did develop a much stronger attitude and a much stronger mindset throughout this process as an athlete. And I think looking back, man, if I can come off TRT all the way, spend a year off TRT all the way, get my testosterone to go from 80 to 429, like, fuck, I can do anything. And that is very, very confidence inspiring. And it shows me if I can go from 160 pounds to 220 pounds, I can fuck do anything. If I can step on stage, I can fuck do anything. If I can do this, I can do anything. And so like, if you're listening to this right now and you're scared to do it, like honestly go into it as a challenge. You know what I mean? Like this is your health that you're messing with. So I understand the importance of it and the gravity of it. But the reality is, if you can put yourself in a position where you come off of that and you have to, without fail, take care of your heart, take care of your health, take care of your body, take care of your stress, eat a high quality diet, create the lifestyle habits that are going to best support you off of the drugs. You're going to build skills. You're going to build discipline. You're you're going to build a lifestyle that's unbreakable and unshakable. Nobody can take this kind of lifestyle from me, because the way that I take care of my body and the way I take care of my health, trust me when I say I thought I was taking care of it well, it's on a whole nother level right now. And I want to give you that confidence. I want to give you that confidence and tell you, like, you can do this too. 100%. Everybody's a little bit different, but I promise you, like, if you focus on the basics and the foundations of this all, you'll put yourself in a good spot. Even throughout this period, when I was carrying a little bit more body fat, my physique started getting softer. I was like, I want a deficit. I want to lose some fat. I want to lose some fat. I want to harden up a little bit. I want to tighten up a little bit. But I waited. I was like, let me make sure that my testosterone is recovered and it stays recovered for a couple months before I throw myself into a deficit and put myself at, maybe at risk for testosterone coming down. So I waited until I felt good. Energy was high, I was recovering from training well, and then I went into a fat loss diet. In about 10 weeks time, I lost about 17, 20 pounds. And I was thrilled with those results. Mind you, I got all the way down to about 188, 187, 190 pounds. And that was funky, because the last time that I was lean was leaner than that, and I was like 5 to 8 pounds heavier. I was 195 pounds when I stepped on stage. Mind you, I was running PEDs at the time, but again, body dysmorphia, it's weird seeing yourself down there. And I looked at my physique and I'm like, you know what? I appreciate this physique. And I learned to really appreciate it, because that 187, 190 pound range felt like natural me before I started all of this. Like, I was a lean 187, 190 all year round, just naturally, because of the work that I fucking put in, because of the muscle that I built naturally. And it showed me that, like, you can't take this away from me either. Nobody's gonna take away the progress that I made as a natural athlete ever from me. And I felt fucking proud of that. So I reframed the mindset of like, oh, I don't look like I do when I'm on PEDs, to like, hey, like, I earned this physique. Even though I moved backwards, I have still earned this very physique that I am in. And that, again, made me appreciate myself and my journey in this process a fuck ton more. So, as far as goals moving forward, Chad, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? Well, we'll just have to stay tuned to these videos to continue finding out. But I'm someone that loves to make progress. So you'll probably see me start to focus on building some muscle from this point forward. And so, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions for me in the comments, please ask. I'm an open book. I'll be totally transparent with you. And I hope that this can give you the confidence that you fucking deserve if you're looking to come off TRT, or even make the jump to get on it, because it's not that scary, especially when you have the habits and the lifestyle in order to be able to take care of yourself at a very high level.